Hey everyone, welcome back to Truth Uncovered, the channel where we dig deep into the stories that matter most to you, especially those hidden truths bubbling up from the heart of South Africa and beyond. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because today, we're tackling something that's got the entire nation on edge. It's been just over a week since the shocking death of Nathi Mthethwa, the former police minister turned ambassador to France, and what started as a tragic fall from a Paris hotel window has exploded into a full-blown mystery with twists that rival any thriller novel. But hold on, because in the last 24 hours, bombshell new evidence has surfaced, a key witness has stepped out of the shadows, and get this, the man believed to have pushed him off that ledge has been hauled in for questioning. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to unpack all of this step by step, from the man's remarkable life to the dark questions now swirling around his final moments. So grab a coffee, settle in, because this is going to be a ride, and by the end, you'll see why this isn't just about one man's death, but about power, secrets, and the fight for justice in our beloved Mzansi. Let's start at the beginning, because to understand the storm that's brewing now, we have to rewind a bit and paint the picture of who Nathi Mthethwa really was. Born in 1969 in the dusty townships of Durban, Nathi grew up in the shadow of apartheid's iron grip. He wasn't just any kid, he was the one organizing youth marches, standing shoulder to shoulder with comrades against a system designed to crush dreams like his. By the time democracy dawned in 1994, Nathi had already cut his teeth in the ANC's Youth League, that fiery engine room where future leaders are forged in debate and determination. He rose fast, didn't he? From local councillor in eThekwini to becoming the mayor of Durban in 2006, where he poured his energy into turning that coastal gem into a bustling hub of culture and commerce. Remember the FIFA World Cup in 2010? Nathi was right there, making sure Moses Mabhida Stadium wasn't just built, but built as a symbol of our resilience, a place where the world saw South Africa's spirit roar. But it was in national politics where Nathi truly made his mark, or, depending on who you ask, left his scars. Appointed Minister of Police in 2019 under President Cyril Ramaphosa, he stepped into a role that demanded steel nerves and sharper wits. Crime rates were climbing, communities were crying out for safety, and Nathi promised a crackdown. He rolled out community policing forums, pushed for better training for our officers, and even tackled the scourge of gender-based violence head-on with campaigns that echoed across the airwaves. Yet, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Whispers of corruption dogged him, allegations of tender irregularities during his Durban days, questions about police funding allocations that seemed to favor certain pockets over others. In 2021, the Zondo Commission on State Capture grilled him over links to the Gupta era, but Nathi walked out relatively unscathed, chalking it up to political mudslinging. Still, those scars lingered, fueling a narrative that he was both hero and heel in the eyes of the public. Fast forward to early 2024, and in a move that raised more than a few eyebrows, Ramaphosa named Nathi as South Africa's ambassador to France. Some called it a promotion, a chance to leverage his diplomatic chops in the City of Light. Others, they saw it as a quiet exile, a way to sideline a man whose star had dimmed amid the ANC's internal wars ahead of the elections. Paris suited him, though, or so it seemed. Nathi immersed himself in cultural exchanges, bridging ties between our jazz scenes and French vineyards, hosting events that celebrated Ubuntu on the Seine. He posted selfies from the Eiffel Tower, videos of him chatting with expat communities, all smiles and suits. Life looked golden. Until September 29, 2025, that fateful night when everything shattered. Picture this, it's late evening in the opulent Hyatt Regency Paris Etoile, a towering glass monolith in the 17th arrondissement, where diplomats unwind after high-stakes meetings. Nathi, fresh from a dinner with French counterparts discussing trade deals on renewable energy, retires to his 22nd floor suite. According to the initial reports from French authorities, he sends a cryptic text to a close aide back home, something about loose ends needing tying, and then, around 2 a.m., he's found sprawled on the pavement below, lifeless, his body twisted in a way that screamed impact from a great height. The Paris prosecutor's office moved quickly, labeling it a possible suicide, citing the open window and a half-empty bottle of whiskey on the desk. No note, they said, but plenty of signs of personal turmoil, stress from the ambassadorial role, perhaps echoes of those old corruption probes weighing heavy. The news hit South Africa like a thunderclap. Social media erupted, #Justice for Nathi trending within hours, vigils lighting up Durban streets, and politicians from all sides offering condolences laced with caution. But here's where the cracks started showing, and why that official story never quite stuck. Nathi's family, led by his widow, Nomfundo, rejected the suicide angle outright. In a tearful press conference just days after, she described a man who was at peace, planning our next family trip to the winelands. No signs of despair, she insisted, quite the opposite. He was buzzing about a potential recall to Pretoria for a senior ANC role post-elections. And then the forensics trickled in. The window. It wasn't just open, it had been forced, pry marks from a pair of scissors found clutched in Nathi's hand, but positioned oddly, as if in self-defense. Bruises on his arms suggested a struggle, not a solitary leap. Toxicology reports. Clean, no drugs, minimal alcohol, ruling out any impaired judgment. French police admitted the scene was inconclusive, and whispers from the embassy pointed to unauthorized access logs in the hotel's security system that night. Suddenly, accident turned to suspicious death, and South Africa's own SAPS dispatched a team of 5 investigators to Paris, led by the no-nonsense veteran, Colonel Thabo Nkosi, who vowed to leave no stone unturned, no matter where the trail leads. As the days dragged into a week, the vacuum filled with speculation. Conspiracy theorists on platforms like X and TikTok spun webs of intrigue. Was it a hit tied to his knowledge of state capture remnants? Did French intelligence clash with him over arms deals? Or closer to home, rival ANC factions silencing a potential whistleblower? Mainstream media, from News 24 to ENCA, urged calm, but the family's lawyer, Advocate Saifo Mbatha, dropped hints of overlooked evidence in interviews, fueling the fire. And just when it seemed the story might fade into the archives of unsolved tragedies, yesterday, October 8, everything reignited with a ferocity that has investigators scrambling and the public glued to their screens. It started with a leaked audio clip, anonymously dropped to a string of journalists, including our sources here at Truth Uncovered. The voice. Unmistakably Nathi's, recorded perhaps hours before his death, murmuring into his phone, "They're closing in. I can't trust the shadows anymore." Grainy, but authenticated by voice experts within hours. Then, the witness. A hotel porter named Jean-Luc Moreau, a quiet Algerian immigrant who's worked the night shift for years, came forward to French outlet Le Monde. Trembling in the interview, he recounted hearing raised voices from the suite around 1:45 a.m. Nathi's measured tones clashing with a deeper, accented growl. It was English, mixed with Afrikaans, Jean-Luc said, something about debts paid in blood and one last warning. He peeked through the service door, spotting a burly figure in a dark coat grappling with Nathi near the window. Before he could intervene, a shove, and silence. Jean-Luc fled, terrified, but guilt gnawed at him. Now under police protection, his testimony has cracked the case wide open. And the man in question. Enter Peter van der Merwe, a 48-year-old South African security consultant with ties to private firms that moonlight for political bigwigs. Van der Merwe was nabbed at O Tambo International yesterday afternoon, fresh off a flight from Johannesburg, his face pale as cuffs clicked shut. Sources close to the investigation, and yes, we've corroborated this with multiple insiders, say he was the voice on that hotel footage, the shadow in Jean-Luc's nightmares. Van der Merwe's rap sheet. Murky. Ex-Special Forces, now freelancing in risk management, with alleged links to the old guard in the police docket during Nathi's ministerial days. Was it a grudge from a botched tender? Revenge for exposing graft? Or something more sinister, like silencing Nathi before he could testify in an upcoming corruption inquiry? Van der Merwe's lawyer is already crying foul, claiming it's a politically motivated witch hunt, but the evidence is mounting. DNA traces under Nathi's nails matching Peter's profile, hotel CCTV blurring a face that forensics now pins on him. Now, let's take a breath and zoom out, because this isn't just headlines, it's a mirror to the soul of our democracy. On one side, you've got the optimists, like DA spokesperson Famzile van Dam, who tweeted this morning, finally, accountability. Mthethwa's death exposes how deep the rot runs in our security apparatus. Time for a full purge. She's right, in a way. If Van der Merwe's arrest holds, it could topple dominoes, implicating contractors who've profited off chaos while our streets bleed. President Ramaphosa, in a measured statement from the Union buildings, called it a tragic escalation and pledged full SAPS French cooperation, but critics like EFF's Julius Malema aren't buying the restraint. This is the tip of the iceberg, Malema bellowed at a rally in Soweto last night. Nathi knew too much about the arms deals, the spy networks, they took him out to protect the elite. Van der Merwe. He's the fall guy. Who's next? Malema's fire reminds us of the distrust festering since Marikana, where police ministers promised reform but delivered bullets. Then there's the family's voice, raw and resonant. Nomfundo Mthethwa, speaking exclusively to SABC yesterday, wiped tears as she said, Nathi fought for the voiceless his whole life. If this man pushed him, it wasn't just murder, it was an assault on every dream he built from the ashes of apartheid. Her words hit hard, echoing the grief of a nation that's lost count of leaders cut down by unseen hands. And don't forget the international angle. France's Foreign Minister, Jean-Noël Barrot, issued a joint presser with our investigators, stressing transparency to honor Ambassador Mthethwa's legacy. Yet, questions linger: why the delay in sharing CCTV? Was there diplomatic pressure to hush it up, fearing embarrassment over a hosted dignitary's demise? Balancing all this, we can't ignore the skeptics. Forensic pathologist Dr. Linda Nkabind, who consulted on the autopsy, told us off record that while the bruises suggest force, they could stem from a desperate climb, Nathi panicking in a moment of doubt. Mental health in high office is a silent killer, she cautioned. We rush to foul play, but isolation abroad can break even the strongest. It's a sobering counterpoint, urging us not to let vengeance blind us to vulnerability. And Van der Merwe's camp? They're painting him as a scapegoat, hinting at fabricated witness statements amid the media frenzy. In a polarized time, with elections still echoing and economic woes biting, this case risks becoming a Rorschach test, assassins for some, accident for others. But let's talk implications, because the ripples from this are vast and churning. Short term, expect a media circus, parliamentary debates grilling the Foreign Affairs Ministry, calls for an independent commission to probe ambassadorial security. SAPS morale? Already low, this could spark walkouts if officers feel their ex-boss was betrayed by the system they serve. Economically, those France-South Africa trade talks. On ice, potentially costing jobs in green energy sectors Nathi championed. And politically, the ANC's unity government teeters. If Van der Merwe flips and names names, it could fracture alliances, handing ammunition to opposition hawks eyeing 2026 locals. Peering further, the future possibilities are as daunting as they are hopeful. If prosecutors nail this as murder, and early signs point yes, we might see a landmark trial, hybrid in Paris and Pretoria, broadcasting reforms in extradition and witness protection. Imagine, laws mandating mental health checks for envoys, tighter vetting for private security in diplomatic circles. Or darker, if it unravels into conspiracy, exposing networks from Joburg boardrooms to Parisian alleys, it could ignite public fury, mass protests demanding the Zondo sequel. Nathi himself might posthumously catalyze change, foundations in his name funding youth leadership, anti-corruption scholarships, keeping his fire alive. Yet, the what-ifs haunt. What if Vanda Merwe walks on technicalities, eroding faith in justice? Or worse, if higher-ups pull strings, turning this into another Steinhoff saga of buried truths? The implications stretch to our global image too, South Africa as a land of Ubuntu, not intrigue. Will this heal divides or deepen them? Only time, and our vigilance, will tell. As we wrap this deep dive, I want you to sit with it. Nathi Mthethwa wasn't just a name in the news, he was a builder, a fighter, a father whose light was snuffed too soon. This new evidence, this witness's courage, this arrest, they're threads in a tapestry of accountability we must weave together. What do you think? Was it a push from the past, or a fall from grace? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's build a conversation that honors his memory. And if this story moved you, if you're hungry for more unfiltered truths, smash that like button, share with a friend who's as passionate about our nation's story as you are, and subscribe to Truth Uncovered. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We've got more coming on this as it unfolds. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay fierce. Ubuntu, my friends, together we rise.